everybody, welcome back.
Hi guys.
This will be vlog number 12. It may be in multiple parts because it is about Big Bend National Park, and Big Bend National Park is pretty big.
Pretty big.
Yeah, so you may see down here in the underneath here, I'll put a message in there if it's one of three, one of two, etc. Last time, if you recall, we left, where did we leave? Seminole State Park. And we drove up to, what was the name of it? Marathon. And then took a south route into the park. And every one of these legs is just huge. Including, you get, from Marathon to the gate was, I don't know, 60 miles. Then you get to the gate, you drive up to the gate, and there's a nice little old guy there, and he says, how you doing? And, he's very calm about everything. There's a little visitor center there. And you're officially into the park. But you're not so far into the park yet where you see stuff like what's around us.
But you can't do anything yet because you have to get to the Panther Junction Visitor Center, which is still another 24 miles.
Is it 24 miles? Another 24 miles on top of that.
South into the park.
Which takes you a little bit longer than the route going up to the gate because the speed limit drops down to 45 and there's no shoulders on the road and it narrows a bit. So then our trip led us to, as Yvette alluded to, the Panther Junction Visitor Center. Why did we have to go to the Panther Junction Visitor Center? We have to go to the Visitor Center to get
backcountry sites. You can't just reserve them online at Big Bend. You have to physically be there in the building in front of the park ranger to secure your sites, and you can only do that 48 hours or less
in advance
to get a site.
The irony is that the ranger holds a paper ledger. There are 3 visitor centers in the park, and that is the only paper ledger that accounts for all of these backcountry sites.
Yep.
Which, how many backcountry sites would you say there was?
Different areas, there's probably
total
maybe 20
or 30 areas throughout the entire park. So we go to the park and we already have a reservation at an RV park within the park called Rio Grande RV Village. We already know we have one day there. That was to secure at least us getting in there so we wouldn't have to come 70 miles back up to Marathon.
To find a place.
And then we were going to use that Rio Grande Village as a stepping off point for the backcountry sites. Because we had no idea how many sites were available or which sites were available, not all of which we can get into for logistical reasons. So we got 2 sites secured.
2 sites secured, I think, for what? 5 or 6
for a total of 5 days.
Yep.
But nothing for that day because that wasn't our plan. We were going to run down to Rio Grande Village, which, by the way, was another 20 miles within the park away from the visitor center.
Right.
So here we go. We get the 2 sites, had a nice howdy-do with the ranger.
Yep,
Thought it was kind of weird with the ledger and all, but hey, no. We'll go down to the Rio Grande RV Village. Now, at this point, we had 5 or 6 days. We had a shower and stuff. It wasn't anything like that, but we're going to do laundry.
Right. Take another shower before we get into the backcountry. Utilize what the
facilities
place had for
there.
us.
And there was a possibility of getting some groceries because we heard tell that there was a store there.
Right.
So down 20 miles more we go. Now we're up to about 250 miles for the day, 220 miles for the day. We get to the Rio Grande Village and we pull into the store. We go into the store. We both at this point have to go to the bathroom.
Yep.
Yvette goes into the ladies' room, I go into the men's room, and almost...
Yeah, we go in, check out the facilities.
Yeah, not great.
No, I think I'd rather just go out in the woods if I really needed to.
Yeah.
And the showers, horrible. The washer and dryers there.
Yeah.
Half of them didn't work.
No, I was more.
It smelled. It was just...
All but one washer were broken, and there was no dryers.
Okay,
So here you go, wet clothes, have a nice
sunshine,
day.
we're going to use solar.
And then on top of that, it was what was it, $2 for 5 minutes for a shower.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you got a
something like
picture
that.
of me going in the shower with a bucket of quarters, right? And ding, 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 ding into the shower. Not going to happen. And I'll say it. I'll say it. You know, I could have easily, if I had the least bit of a hangover, if I went in the men's room, I would have blown chunks.
Oh, nice.
Just saying. It was, and it wasn't even hot out. Wait till that place gets baking in the summertime.
Yeah, everybody smells.
Okay, so we're like, whatever, you know, we'll just go to the RV area. So we get out of, in the grocery store, forget it, nothing there. Everything's marked up like $5. Just rip you off. So then we get in the truck and we drive around the corner, basically not even like 1,000 feet to the RV park. There's two sections. There's 50 amp hookup and there's 30 amp hookup. The 50 amp hookup, we're looking at it like it looked like an RV storage area because they were so clever. We're like,
gravel.
wow.
It was a parking lot with just stacking people up.
Yeah.
It was.
Yeah.
Sorry, we didn't drive all the way to Big Bend.
Yeah, for that. So we go to the 30 amp. We go into the 30 amp area, and you know there is no visitor. There's no check-in there. There's a camp host that they take care of it, and they have a slip on your post at the site that's designated your site. And did we know the site?
Yeah.
We knew the site number.
I think I already did because when I made the reservation, I knew the site number.
And it was like they call it a drive-through site, which basically allows you get off the road and it's like a tiny little horseshoe kind of thing. You drive in, you can drive right back out. We get there, and as we're driving into the 30 amp area, there's I say thousands. It looked like there was hundreds of RVs, and it was just, I don't know. There was just something about it that reminded me of The Walking Dead, and I'm not staying here. Because I guess I was already a little torqued up about how the backcountry thing was going, and then you go into the bathroom and you're almost blowing chunks, and then you go in the grocery store and they got crap, and it's expensive, and fuel is $3.50 a gallon. And I was just, it's been a long day, so we drove right into the site and right back out. And I says, I don't care. I'm not staying here. I'll sleep in the car somewhere else on the road. We'll get arrested. We'll go to jail. I don't care. I'm not staying here.
Perfect.
Back. So
now we have to go 22 miles back up to Panther Junction so I can talk to the ranger and see if they have any sites available in the backcountry that we can stay at that night. Right. So I go in, I get a different ranger. She starts, I don't really have anything available for how long you are, but then she finally gives me a site called 9 Point Draw. We can have it for one night.
And one night only.
One night only, so that's in conjunction with the other 5 nights that we have at 2 different spots.
Yep.
But now we have to drive another 22 miles north, all the way up to almost the entrance of the park again.
That's where the site was.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that was another
22 miles.
Right.
And then
but it was a nice site.
It was a nice site. And I really have to say, I really enjoyed just being in a place where you couldn't see anybody else. Right. You couldn't see any sign of civilization whatsoever. You were in the middle of the Chihuahuan Desert, which, by the way, took me forever to learn how to spell. And then...
And say.
And you hear me practicing this morning? I was saying Chihuahuan Desert in the mirror.
Chihuahua.
And, it was nice to have the mountains, and we had a beautiful sunset. We cooked a dinner and
we got
dinner.
To hear the coyotes right outside the rig that night. I mean, they were only, maybe 20 feet behind?
I don't think 20 or 30 feet. Yep, scared the hell out of me.
And the site was also nice in regards that it was only a backcountry site for one.
Just one person. And the road in, so the road goes in, and there's one site and one site only. And the road's a mile and something.
Probably, yeah.
Dirt road. Nice. But that said, and I wasn't really sure when the checkout time, or the time you had to leave the site was. Come to find out, it's noon. But we had to get up the next morning. And now my memory is confused. I thought that we went back to the visitor center and asked again about future sites, because our main goal was we were going to try to spend more than
Right.
5 days in the national park section and then go on to the state park. But so we had only had seriously 6 days set up, and I thought we went back to the visitor center again. We may not have.
We could have, but they had nothing available.
They had nothing available.
Everything was booked
Well,
out.
let me correct. I don't mean to. They have spaces available, but if they're more than 48 hours down the road, you can't touch them.
Right.
So you have to keep going back to this visitor center every single day to get a shot at anything.
But if we had done it initially all
At once.
at once like we
Mm-hmm.
did, then we could have. But nobody tells you that. Nobody says,
Yes.
okay, so you're standing in front of me. You got 2 weeks. Let's book everything right now.
I don't think that's true though.
Well, we got 5, so that's more than 48 hours. We got 5 sites.
5. So you're saying if they're in a row.
Right.
Ah.
So we
Okay.
had to have done everything in that one time. I mean, that one
Okay,
day that we did it.
So then if that's true, and I have no reason to disbelieve you, if that's true, then this is a more boondoggle than I thought, because we had it on our permit that we were committed for 5 days, and they still wouldn't let us have anything because we didn't do it the first time.
Right, right.
But how is that any less of a commitment than what we had?
I don't know.
All right, so this is the problem I have with this park, and this is probably why this is going to go into at least 3 parts now, because as glorious as this park is, it is the most bureaucratic
Yeah.
paperwork nightmare for those that have to go visit there. That's the first thing. And we'll get to the others, so let's just press on and talk about the rest. So, we get to our next campsite, which is Nugent Mountain 1.
Yes, Nugent Mountain.
And it is on an access road that has other campsites, though you can't see them because they're so far apart.
Right. I think there were a total of 4 campsites that were available, and we were the first one in on the road. So we were, 2 miles in on the road?
We're 2 miles in on the road. You go in the road, but there were. We're before the fork though.
Oh, yeah.
So the road goes in 2 miles, our campsite, the road continues, and then it forks. And then the one that goes up to Pine Canyon had 3 or 4 more campsites.
Mm-hmm.
And the other road where it forked out, that
I mean,
had
that one
farther.
went for miles.
So the point we're trying to make here is, even though we had a backcountry site, occasionally you'd be sitting there and somebody would just drive by. Now, because of the way these sites are, some of the sites that are all the way at the end, they're 4 miles in.
Yeah.
And you're driving on a dirt road, you can't, if you have a big rig, you can't go more than 4 or 5 miles an hour. So people are in there, and then people are coming out, and people are going in. And we saw people as early as 6:30 in the morning,
And as late as 11 o'clock at night.
11:30 at
passing
night.
by. I
So
mean, yeah.
it's not a lot, but it's just something to consider when you're looking at the map and you're picking a site, and etc.
Yeah, there's a lot to learn before you go to Big Bend. I thought we had done some research, but we could have done a lot more research.
And I
But
think-
let's talk about the good
Yes.
of pulling into Nugent Mountain.
Yeah. Oh, yes. So go ahead.
We round the corner to pull into where we're supposed to park. Up on the mountain, I spy. Oh my God, those must be
Mountain sheep or goats.
Yeah,
Yes.
bighorn mountain sheep.
Right.
We get out the cameras. We take lots of
Yeah.
pictures.
Did some video footage as we're driving in. She's holding the camera out the window.
Yeah, yeah.
I jump out, and it was literally like a few hundred feet before the site, because I was able to park,
Right.
grab the camera that I had to put the big lens on, and
and go out and do some more filming of them.
Yeah.
So that was great. That was
Yeah,
a
that
nice.
was an awesome
You
part.
know, that was a perfect way to introduce us to the site.
yes, very much so. The other thing that was very nice was being able to. We actually unhooked the trailer at that point and sort of. Oh, that was later, wasn't it?
That was
Yeah,
that
later.
was the other site.
We did do a hike up into a place called Pine Canyon
That was the next day.
the next day. Or did we go to the...
No, well, I mean, we took a walk up
Yeah.
around
Yes, we walked.
for about an hour.
Yeah, all right. So Debbie Downer here is going to inject another little bit of a thing. Yeah, it's not so much a negative thing as much as, but wherever you park in the backcountry sites that we saw, there were no trails from your site. So your road led in and you camped, but you couldn't just get up and say, get out of your tent or out of your rig and just say, oh, let's go on Pine Canyon Trail. And then, you're not at a trailhead.
No.
You have to, wherever you are, you have to drive to a trailhead. So it's something to consider when you're camping in this kind of, because that's why there's so much traffic sometimes when you're even in a remote site, is because people get up and they just don't hang out in their site and read. They want to go to the trailhead, or they want to go to the interpretive center, or they want to go to the program. So people
you
are
have
still
to drive everywhere.
have to
There's
drive
no
everywhere.
such thing as just, besides walking
Right.
on a dirt, dusty road.
Right.
Because that's what you're going to do if you want to walk around. And it's the Chihuahuan Desert. I mean,
Yeah.
you're gonna, besides seeing what we thought were bighorn sheep, which are really called audads.
Yes, they're not. So tell the folks about the aoudad.
The aoudad came here from,
We think Iran.
yes, they imported them here for the hunting ranches.
Yeah.
And then they've pretty much just kind of gotten out of control. And I
Yep.
know that at Big Bend, they're going to start talking about maybe opening it up to hunting,
Yep.
because they're taking over the habitat of the
Right.
bighorn.
Sheep, and then because it's hard enough trying to get the sheep back up to where they should be population-wise. Now they have all this competition from the aoudad, which seem to be flourishing everywhere they go. And as you'll see in future videos, we get to see these guys at another state park
Right.
in the future. But they're just, it's amazing to walk up to a prickly pear cactus, right, with spines that are like that long, and see a perfect aoudad, like,
Yeah.
chomp, just eats it, spines and all.
I mean, we got to watch them eating it
Yeah,
right on the mountain.
right on the mountain. Just
So you know it's them eating it.
yeah, it's them eating it for sure. So, all right. Anything else about Nugent Mountain you want to talk? Well, the Pine Canyon hike
Right,
was
we have to talk about that one.
beautiful.
So to get to the Pine Canyon hike, we had to travel on this road. Was it 4 miles?
It
To
was
go
a total
4
of
miles.
4 miles from our campsite.
And it took us an hour.
Oh, at least
An hour to
Yeah.
drive
Yeah,
the 4 miles to get up to the base of this trail.
right.
Which then, that was a great hike.
It was a beautiful
You
hike.
talk about the hike.
So, so the hike is about 2 miles, and what you're doing is you're climbing, you're ascending the whole time, and you ascend into this basin, this bowl that's created on the southern side of the Chisos Mountains. And the coolest part about this is that you start off at a desert level, desert climate, and as you climb, even, granted, some of it's done when you climb with the truck, but the last 2 miles of the hike is actually where you start to see the climate change the most. And the trees change, the shrubbery changes, just the view of it. And I don't know how far you want me to get into this, but when we get at the top, you end up in basically a pine forest. It's just so cool.
gorgeous.
It's so unbelievable. It's hard to describe, but for me, it was a little bit on the spiritual side, only because, like I said to my wife, this is the place I want to come and die. And that opened up another whole discussion, and we won't get into it right now. But on the way up, we got to take advantage of the views. We got to take advantage of the bird life that's new to us. We saw a lot of wildlife, scat, and markings of other kinds. And actually, at one point, we saw in the middle of the trail a small piece of fur, and to me, it looked like it could be a mountain lion, or cougar fur, or bobcat fur.
Maybe bobcat. I mean, the nail was definitely not.
Yeah, okay.
from-
Well, I'm just saying we're not scientific individuals.
No,
We
but
don't,
there's nice scat fur in
Yeah.
the middle of the trail. So I decided to bag it.
she decides to pick it up since
Put
it's
it
in
in
the
a little
middle of the
bag.
trail.
And
Yep.
when we go down to the
Ranger station the next day. Hey, maybe we'll
find
we'll
out
be
what
like
it was.
be like heroes. It had a nail in it though. It had what looked like a curved nail
And some bone, I think. A little
and some
was
bone
in
with it, and we thought that would. And this is now, this piece, this fur and this nail, were not part of scat. We also took some
Exactly.
scat.
No.
So this was not part of the scat itself. So John and Yvette, superhero
Think we're doing
naturalists, think you're doing good. So
At least to find out what it is.
so fast forward a little bit. We're going to tell you in part 2 what happens there. But we go up to the canyon, we do our thing there, and we hike out, and we hike back down the mountain, and that pretty much rounded off day 2
of being
at Nugent Mountain.
right.
So we're going to stop here, and we'll take it up on part 2 of this particular vlog as our leave date at Nugent Mountain and going into our final campsite at
Paint Gap.
for 3 days. So stick around for that. It should be pretty interesting. Stay tuned.